Hello, hello, everybody. Let's go. Good to be with you. Welcome. Welcome for you that are chiming in on YouTube, you that are here inside the Zoom call with me. Fantastic. It's great to be with you tonight. Happy Monday. It's coming toward the end of the month, end of the quarter, already 2025. So if you haven't been coming out the gate strong, man, I suggest you pick up the pace because this year is almost already done. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get this party started, guys, really quickly. Just want to make sure we're all here logistically and we're good to go logistically. Let's see here now. All right, awesome. Let's go, guys. Here we go. That's me. Cheston Bulgin, by the Bush Consulting, CFO tax strategist, your accounting superhero. You can reach us at 888-4BTB now. That's 888-428-2669. And you can also reach us online at youraccountingsuperhero.com. And you can reach me via email at cbulgin@youraccountingsuperhero.com and follow me on Instagram at youraccountingsuperhero. Awesome. And of course, we do all things related to your tax and accounting. Man, I've been in the trenches. It's tax time. So I say I've been in the trenches because I have. I've been doing tax work. I've also been doing accounting work. I've also been doing some consulting work, and also been doing some coaching and building up the team and teaching people how to actually do this work for others inside of our company and even for themselves. And when I say I've been in the trenches, this is what I mean. It's like an everyday, all day thing. We get to make sure we are of value for people in that area. And this is part of it too. We get to be here in conversations like this with you guys. All right. It's all a part of it as well. But it's tax season. We're doing a lot of tax returns for people. And what I'm seeing inside of this too is that, entrepreneurs, man, sometimes we miss certain things that if we don't, it'll put us in a place of risk, to put it straight. We'll put ourselves at risk because we just don't know what we don't know. We're not doing things the right way. We feel we don't have time, or it's overwhelming to do. And those are the things that we actually assist people with. So when we look at, what we do for people, that's what we do, man. We create peace, ease, and clarity in this area when it comes to accounting, tax, business strategy, business consulting, business advisory, especially when you want to keep more of your hard-earned money in your pocket. We help you do that by restructuring the way that you operate so that you're minimizing your exposure to taxes. All right, so pretty cool stuff. That's what we do. And before we get started, here's a disclaimer. The following is for educational purposes only and is not to be considered financial, accounting, or legal advice. Please consult your tax, accounting, and or legal professional for specific advice. And we've been in this conversation, guys. Now that it's done, we've been in this conversation. We've been talking about the fundamental five when it comes to financial literacy. Money flow can only happen in certain ways in and out of your business. There are five basic ways that happens. We've talked about this over the last several weeks. Assets, liabilities, equity, income, and expenses. Now, if it's not one of those, then most likely you're not doing anything when it comes to business and money. Okay, because everything falls in that area. And we're talking about, well, why does this matter to you? How can you lean on this and leverage it so that you can have improved performance in business? Okay, improved performance in business, especially when it comes to trucking. Okay, that's what we're here for. And I want to focus in on this last two, because we talked about all the others. We talked about assets, we talked about liabilities, we talked about equity extensively inside of our time together. And today I want to focus on income and expenses, because this is the key aspect of your business that moves performance. So we have to be good at this, guys. We have to be good at bringing in revenue and keeping revenue. Okay. We have to be good at this. And so many of business owners that I see who suffer, they suffer because they have not yet gotten really good when it comes to mastering the inflows and outflows when it comes to income and expenses. And one of the main things that I see regarding that is taking the time. I know how it is, man. I'm a busy person too, man. I had to. I'm always up to something in life, and sometimes it occurs that you don't have the time to get down into the details of things. But that's really when I get to lean in. Like personally, that's when I get to lean in when I figure I don't have the time for it. Well, that must be a signal that this is something I want to lean into. Is it something that isn't? It's definitely an important thing to have understood inside a business. So if I am going to master my business, if I'm going to master income and outflow, if I'm going to master the financial performance of my business, and this is something that I want to invest the time in, or at least have somebody in my corner who I can trust that has my back in this area to lean in and use their time to give me access to what we are creating here in this area when it comes to inflows and outflows, right? So what have I seen? I've seen when people come to me and they ask me, okay, Justin, like, what should I classify this as? That's one of the main things inside of bookkeeping and accounting. Justin, what should I classify this as? And I'm thinking, man, they don't know. This is their business, right? This is their business. Why don't they know what to classify this as? Because it's an indication, right? It's an indication that they've already gotten underway with the business, but they haven't taken the time to do the front work for the business. But I think that's what I want you to be left with, is that there's some front work that wants to be done, essentially, and then it also wants to be revisited periodically to ensure that you know exactly what's moving in and out of your business. So if somebody asks me what do you classify this as, Justin? I'm like, man, they don't know what's going in and out of their business. They really don't. Okay. Now, if you don't know that, and if you don't have that level of understanding, then there's no possibility for you and me to have mastery when it comes to this area, the financial area of the business. Now, you're giving all your energy, right? You're going out here and putting, planning loads. You're out here just moving things across the country, across the region. You're doing a lot of energy inside of what you're doing. But why not get the most out of the effort that you put in without having all the extra waste? Which is what I'll see when I say that. It's really an indication of the suffering that exists with entrepreneurs, specifically in this industry of trucking. Okay, putting in all this work, working so hard, whether you're an owner operator or not, you're still going to have to work to make sure the business is getting to the levels that you wanted to get to. Right? You're running around like this, putting all this time and effort in for what? Like, what do you have at the end of the day? Right? A lot of times, if you're not putting in this work, if you're not understanding the inflows and outflows of your business, then you're doing all that work for nothing, or at least not as much as what you can have out of that work that you put in. Okay. Wouldn't it be nice? Wouldn't it be fantastic to know without a shadow of a doubt that you are creating money hand over fist, consistently and reliably, every single time that your doors are open, every day of the week, you know that you're being successful in what you do when it comes to putting more money in the bank, right? This is the idea. This is why you're here. This is what we want to understand so that when you're going out here and putting together these components of your business and doing what you do every single day, you're going to make sure that what you're doing is counting for something. Okay. And that's the whole idea. All right. Now, understanding the inflows and outflows, this is what we call income and expenses. Now, it's a component. These are components of the fundamental five that we talked about, and these are performance components, which are so crucial to being able to have money flow throughout the entire fundamental five successfully, so that you're building something rather than feeling as though you're losing and you're wasting time in certain areas. You're not getting as much from the business as what you want to get from the business, right? Again, what it would look like to be able to do that, to be able to say exactly what you want to create in terms of profitability, cash flow, and just go out here and just like this. You just do it, okay? Because you understand the principles of inflows and outflows. All right. And that's what we're here for tonight, guys. Hopefully you're excited about that. I'm excited to be here with you in terms of being able to deliver that understanding in this way so that you understand, so that you know and have that certainty, right? You have that certainty that you can go out here and win, or at least know when to pull, like to get out, right? And so like there's certain moments where you see like your business is not doing as well as what you wanted to do, and you get the choice to say, okay, I'm gonna just shut it down. I'm gonna close the doors because it's not making sense for me to move forward because I'm actually paying to do this. And I don't see a way where I can actually move this beyond that particular pattern. Okay. All right. So you want to know those things too. All right. So getting back into this, guys. All right, so we're talking about things. I want you to get like the financial terminology that we're going to talk about a little bit. I don't want your eyes to get glazed over with some of the financial terminology, but I do want you to get like a basic financial literacy so that when you see certain things, certain patterns, you're able to make certain decisions. Okay, so that's the whole importance of income and expenses because it directly impacts what we call profit margins. All right, and in any business, especially inside of trucking. All right, so this does influence like your ability to scale, your ability to meet demands for capacity that you currently have, even if you don't scale. Because if you don't have enough profitability in the business, then it doesn't make sense for you to keep having people go out there because you can't pay them enough, because you're not making enough to sustain the capacity that you already have. Definitely a sustainability issue is what we want to create. We want to create sustainability inside of the business, rather. All right. So what that means is that you can continue to move forward where other businesses fail and they stop. You keep going. You're still in existence and you still thrive. Okay. So cash flow. All right. So big deal here in terms of income and expenses. It impacts cash flow. It is not cash flow in and of itself, but it has a tremendous impact on cash flow, income and expenses. Okay. Now, we talked about performance, right? So enhanced financial performance, which is the performance that we're here for in your business. This is why this is important to understand. So what would it be like for you if you decided to have mastery in this area where you just know exactly how much money is going in and out of your company and why? Like, where is it going? Who is it going to? You have control processes to make sure that you're turning off the valve in expense areas where you don't need to have those extra expenses. You can turn that valve up for income because you have a consistent source that you know is going to be able to help you drive that number up for revenue and income, right? What would it be like if you had complete mastery in these areas and then you're creating something for your business based on KPIs? So KPIs are just like, this is what good looks like, key performance indicators. You actually understand what those numbers are. You're looking for those KPIs and you're looking to build bridges to those gaps between where you are in those KPIs and where you want to be in them. Okay. This is mastery. This is what it could look like. And it's pretty exciting to be there. And when you actually have a game plan, you know exactly what you're looking at. You have a key, you have an actual destination that's clear for you, and you're moving toward that destination. That process is the real exciting process about business, because now you have a destination, you know you're walking it forward. It's inevitable now, right? There's no question about it. It's just like, okay, we're going in this direction. We're going to hit these targets. Boom. We know exactly what we're doing and why we're doing it. Okay, this is what this gives access to. And when you have this degree of clarity, you have a high probability of winning all the time. Okay, inside of business. All right. Now, I've kind of hit this a little bit in our conversation about the role of financial literacy in this, but you want to make informed decisions when it comes to your business. In order to make informed decisions in your business, you want to understand what the numbers mean. There is a number story. We talk. Like I say this a lot inside of our communities that we're part of. The number story, the number story, the numbers always tell the story. The question is, can you and I read that story? I was on a call with one of my staff members who's training in bookkeeping today. Yeah, I don't take things for granted, man. I really don't anymore. I used to take things for granted, like the fact that I know certain things. I would assume that everybody else would know certain things. It's not everybody just knows everything that I know, and I'm grateful for the things that I've gained over the time that I've been on this earth. I am. I'm grateful for that. And I'm grateful for the ability to share like this, also, but also to share with the people that are on my team, my staff, so that they get it. And so I had an opportunity to do that today with one of my team members who's training on the bookkeeping aspect, and they're learning things. And we came across her project. She has a project that she's working on, and she's looking at everybody asking me this, right? Justin, how do I classify this? Right? So she's no different, right? Everybody on the planet asks me this. How do I classify this, Justin? Right? And they're no different, man. Team members, they like the staff, they come and ask me, what do you do here? And you know, the process is really like to really understand and see the full story that's happening in order to classify whatever it is that you're classifying in your financials. Okay, so most people that we work with when they come on, they deal with like the overwhelm, right? Because the financial aspect of business is not something that they like to deal with, not the technical aspect of it. They hate going into the books, right? And holding themselves account to looking at all those the things that are going in and out in and out of the business. And then there's a confusion there in terms of this. Like, what is this transaction? And this happened months ago. I don't even know what this transaction is anymore, right? So they don't know. And then they come to us and they want us to know, right? And it just so happens that we do. Like, there's a process that we can deploy and you can deploy to understand exactly what those transactions are. First, we want to create in the beginning those little buckets, those buckets that we're going to use for every single transaction that flows in and out of the business. But then when we see those things show up in real time, it's like, well, what was the story behind this? This is what we get to see all the time. And this is what the thing with my employee. She wasn't present to the story in a lot of the transactions that she was working on. And it was really great in this conversation today because I got to get her present to being able to see the full story in the numbers. Okay. I got her to see the full story in the numbers. And when she saw it, and I was like, okay, well, now I don't have to give her a fish anymore. She can fish for herself and classify transactions once that story was completely understood. Okay. And then the numbers will always do this, guys. All right. If we allow ourselves to be there with it. And the thing that I'm seeing a lot is resistance for it with the business owners to be able to be inside of this because of, people have their time. The time wants to be dedicated to other things, right? You want to be out here and help your drivers, make sure you have their back. You want to make sure that you're bringing on new customers, new brokers, right, to work with, planning loads, right, creating systems where, your people are working on autopilot, right? So it takes some time to build those systems and structures so that they can be on autopilot doing what they do, right? And then, of course, we have the rest of our lives, like our family. I love spending time with my wife. I do. I do love spending time with my wife. I have my dad, I have my mom still around, I have my kids, I like spending time with these important people. So when we think about all of the things that we go through in life, people will shy away from this aspect because it seems like it's not immediate. It's not something that warrants their attention right now, but it's something that's so crucial for you and I to address that we can't necessarily stay away from this. We want to invest the time to identify, well, what is going to be my number story inside this business, and how we're going to treat every transaction, what are the suppliers we're going to use for this, how we're going to approach it. So now we can simplify the processes. And then if we take that investment of time up front, it saves us a lot of time for the rest of our lives. Okay. That's the whole idea behind that. And then we can start looking at KPIs because we already set the structure up, we set the systems up in that area. And now it's delivering information to us to allow us to read that story really, really clean and make these decisions moving forward. Okay. Hopefully that makes sense, guys. And I'm hoping that you are excited about taking that on for life, like being in that conversation for the rest of your life. At least be in the conversation with somebody who is good at what they do. Shameless plug, you can call me. Shameless plug. You can always call me for that. And make sure that we have your back in that area, okay? Or at least invest the time so you have your back in that area. It's super important, guys. There are things I'm saying because it's tax season, people haven't really paid attention to those things. And because they haven't paid attention to those things, they're late filing things. They have, late filing penalties, but more so than that, they have other consequences tax-wise because they haven't really paid attention to how money was flowing in and out of the business. There's things that like compliance risks, like, in terms of, you have this entity that's supposed to protect you for whatever it is, an LLC or a corporation is supposed to protect you, but because you haven't paid attention to this area, it's like you eradicated that corporate veil and you no longer have the protection. So guys, this stuff is really important. This is what I want you to be left with. It is important. It is essential for you to succeed here on all kinds of levels. But really the level I want to focus in on is just performance. You want your business, you want your company to perform at top levels. In order for it to perform at top levels, you're going to want to understand this. All right. You want to understand inflows and outflows for your business. Okay. Pretty cool. All right. Now, that's the role of financial literacy, understanding that. And we want to talk about some really, really quickly. We want to talk about some key metrics, some key performance indicators. One is gross revenue. All right. Gross revenue, by definition, it measures total income generated from trucking services before any expenses are deducted. Before you take anything away, this is what gross revenue is. It is vital to assess gross revenue on a per truck, per driver, per lane basis to understand performance in areas for improvement. Okay, and it's super important here, guys. So again, if you haven't set up the structures to do this, it's gonna take you. You're not gonna have access to this, and you're gonna suffer in these areas and not be present to why you're suffering in these areas, but you're just going to feel the impact of it. Well, what is it that's driving us not to get the outcomes that we want? Well, it's because you're actually not paying attention to this. Do you know that you can look at what your competitors are doing inside of this, right? What the industry standard is inside of these metrics. And then you can measure yourself against what the industry standard is. Well, what do we get, per lane? What are we supposed to get here per lane? What are we supposed to get here per truck? What's one unit supposed to produce us according to what industry standard is today? What's the market trending like inside of this area? Gross revenue rise. What's my revenue per truck? What's my revenue per mile? That's there too, right? What's my revenue per driver? And why is this driver not performing as high as this driver? Like, so those are the things that are accessible when we understand, like, really inflows and outflows. And I'm talking about income right now, okay? That's gross revenue. And now, how are you measuring it? There's so many different ways to measure this to get access to, like, the key drivers of your business. The key things that are driving success inside of the business, okay? And if you're using your tools and using them appropriately. One of the things that are missing, guys, that I also see is that when people have these systems in place, they're not fully utilizing and leaning on the systems. They're not leveraging those systems 100%. So if you have a trucking management software, for example, they have like really cool tools in there for you to be able to get this. Like, so when you get loads booked, you put the loads in there, you dispatch the loads, it'll feed back all this information about those loads. And you'll get an idea of, well, there's mileage here that's going to be driven, like actual like Raycon miles, and then there are actual hub miles that you can distinguish inside of that, which are the hub miles, are the miles that you actually drive versus what's on the rate confirmation that you get from the from your customers and your brokers. All right. So, and now you can start looking at, well, what are we actually getting per mile? What are we getting per mile that we're moving? And then we can look at, well, what is this driver doing versus other drivers? Because now it's across a spectrum of the whole fleet where you can see driver by driver. What are they doing? You can see idle times. If you're using your ELD, you can look at that performance, you know, and what they're costing you in fuel, like fuel, per mile, which is the cost metrics that we want to see for ourselves. Okay. Well, if you're going to leverage technology to run your business, we want to leverage that technology 100%, not that 50, 60, 70%, but at 100%, so that we're getting the information that's essential for those types of decisions. Like, how would you know what to train people on if you don't have the information that says they need to be trained in this area? It just makes sense, right? Right, makes sense. So why not have all of that at your fingertips so you can know, okay, this quarter we can focus on this because this is where we've been operating at a gap. Training, right? So I get to do that for my company. I realize that there's a training process that wants to be implemented. Like I get to do a series of videos for bookkeeping and accounting, right? I get to do a series of videos for my staff, right? Why? Because I'm present to the gaps, right? I can look at these things and say, okay, this is which one and needed. They perform here, and we want them to perform here. So that's what we mean the gap. So there's a distance between where we are and where we want to be. So, okay, what's going to bridge it? Okay, training. We train every day on things like this, but it would be great to have a library of specific trainings organized in a way where they can click a button and go to that specific training and get developed that way. Okay, and when people come on board, when we hire staff, they wouldn't have to go through that training before they get to a certain stage, right? Rather than the current model that we have with the training, right? There's a new model that we can create. Now, I have access to information that leads me to know that that's a gap, so we can go ahead and bridge it. But what do you have access to inside of your trucking company, right? And this will give you access by just looking at these metrics to give you direction to go, okay? So super cool. All right. Now that's gross revenue. Gross revenue said a lot in there, but I want you to be left with like gross revenue is one of those keys. You can measure that in these different ways and more. Okay. There's a few more, but these are some really good places to begin. All right. So the next thing is gross profit versus net profit. All right. So gross profit takes into consideration direct costs, while net profit takes into consideration the direct costs and all other operational costs. Okay. So for example, direct costs would be fuel, driver wages, right? Because it's a direct cost because if I did not have the load, if I did not have that job that we were doing on the load, then you would not have that cost. And when you do get the load, you would have to pay these costs in order to deliver it, right? That's directly associated with the load. So I have to pay fuel in order to deliver the load. Truck needs fuel. I'd have to pay the driver wages in order to deliver the load because drivers want to get paid. Okay. So those are what we consider direct costs. All right. Now, net profit takes into account like all expenses, including those. Okay. But they take into account the costs that come regardless of whether or not you pull freight. Like if you have utilities, well, the lights need to stay on. You still got to pay those, whether or not you book loads, whether or not you shut down. They still want to get paid for utilities. Right? The insurance people still want to get paid, regardless of whether or not you decide to book a load, right? So those things are always going to be there. You still have your administrative salaries, right, to pay. Even though they might not be driving specific loads, you might have people who do administrative work inside the office, and these people have, costs associated with them. These are other operational costs, rents, right? These are fixed costs that don't change no matter what. They're not going to fluctuate based on whether or not you pull a load, right? So these are the net profits taking into consideration all these other costs. So if you have not yet taken the time to identify what these costs are inside of your business, then you have missed out on an opportunity to really get clean on understanding your inflows and outflows to the business, which are key aspects of being able to master the performance of your business so that you can have almost guaranteed success, like at least a degree of certainty when it comes to improving your profitability, your cash flow, and everything else down the line. Okay. Now I want to talk about this before we wrap up, right? Mapping income sources. So I mentioned this briefly, not even briefly, but I was talking about this a little while ago. The front end work that's wanted, this investment that's wanted to determine, well, how do you classify things inside of your business when it comes to inflows and outflows? We call this process mapping transactional flow. This is what we call it mapping the transactional flow. So in the accounting world, we talk about chart of accounts, okay? Chart of accounts are kind of like, there's a place for everything and everything goes in its place. There's a place for everything and everything goes in its place, okay? So for organizational purposes, we have this for numbers and accounting. Okay, where is this going to go? How are we going to treat this transaction? Where are we going to have this money come from, for one? Like, where is it coming from? So we have to have a drawer that it comes out of and a drawer that it goes into, all right? Because money always comes from someplace and goes to another, okay? So this is what we call mapping, all right? You can think about it like really, if you have like a bedroom set, you have a set of drawers, like dresser drawers inside of your bedroom. Like these certain drawers are dedicated to certain things. If you're doing it right, you're not going to have all your clothes located in one drawer. Okay, it doesn't really work like that, and like functionally anyway. If you want to get dressed pretty fast every day, all right, you're going to have a system where you might have a sock drawer, you might have an underwear drawer, you might have a pajamas drawer, you might have a drawer with your shirts, you might have a drawer with your shorts and everything, you might have a drawer with your pants and all that other stuff, so that when you go and get dressed in the morning, you know exactly what drawer to go to get what you need. Okay, so mapping is that process. In the beginning, you may not have had those drawers were empty, right? When you got your bedroom set, and then you decided, you said, okay, this is going to be my sock drawer. This is going to be, my pajamas drawer, right? Well, this is going to be the drawer where we keep our shirts. Okay. Now you start doing that process. You take the time up front. Now, throughout the rest of your life, you can go in your drawer and just pull things out. You don't have to think about it. Okay. So this is what mapping transactional flow looks like in accounting. We do the same thing with the numbers. We're going to map the income sources, okay? Now, we're also going to do this with expenses and everything else down the line, all right? So when we talk about mapping income sources, really quickly, identifying diverse income streams is crucial for financial stability in trucking. Differentiate between core services like freight hauling, call it line haul, all right, and additional services like logistics management to uncover new revenue opportunities. Now, people do this. People have done this, all right? We have our core revenue sources, our core revenue streams. And then beyond that, we have some other business units that can actually arise that are secondary. Okay. But we want to determine those from the beginning. Have you determined yours? All right. Now, we're going to keep this conversation going until the next week. All right. Man, that time went by fast. Man, it's always great being with you guys. If you got some value from this, always just put a one in the chat for me. If you're here, you get some value from this, you put a one in the chat for me, because this is some really cool information that you can use, not just as information, but as transformative to the way that you get to operate inside a business, if you so choose, man. And I love delivering things that'll give you the ability to do that inside a business and inside of life. So it's really great being with you. Now, I have a promise here that anybody who stays on this call till the end will get access to a one-on-one, man, tax consultation. This is tax time, so you get a tax consultation with me. I'm going to go ahead and put that in our YouTube Live. Hey man, you people on YouTube Live, yeah, man, you stay till the end. Here you go. This is for you. All right, that's your link. All right, you can book a call. This is my personal link. Okay, this is not anybody else's link in the organization. It's just this is for me. Okay, you can call live with me. Tax consultation. It's that time. Some of you guys are pulling your hair out. I've already done all that. Right. So you can't ask me to pull out any more hair on your behalf. I've already done it all on my end. All right. But if you're in this call today, you get to have that stress alleviated from choosing to book a call, get a tax consultation, and have an avenue to go, like a pathway forward for your business and for your life when it comes to taxes. Pretty fantastic. All right. So because you came here and stayed to the end, this is for you. That call is usually about $200. Okay. But you get it for free. All right. So don't say I never gave you anything. And for those of you who are in the Zoom call, here you go. Same here. All right. Guys, it's been great being with you. Take advantage of that, by the way. Take advantage of that time. Make sure you like whatever I give, man, I'm giving so that you can take it and move it forward. Take that energy and take it forward in life. And I'm hoping that that's what you get to do. All right. It's always a pleasure being with you. It's been a pleasure being with you tonight. See you next week. Have a great week until then. Take care of yourselves. Be safe. Happy trucking. Be profitable. Keep that cash in the bank. Talk to you next week. Take care.